Hello there. Welcome to my holiday art show and sale. This is a once in a year event for me. I only put my original paintings on sale once a year, and I do it in time for the holidays. The discount is 20%, and that sale price is actually reflected in the price on the website when you get there. And you can see down below the original typical price. All my work, except a very few paintings that are in the gallery where I hang my work, as well as a couple that are committed for shows, are in this sale. So you basically have access to everything, and obviously because they're original paintings, they're one of a kind. So there's only one. If you see something that you like, you probably should act pretty quickly because first come, first served in terms of purchasing the paintings. The link to the sale page is in the menu on my website. So that would be the way to get there, is to just click on that menu, the three lines at the top there, and that will take you to the page that has a list of all the paintings, and they are in the same order as I am talking about them on the video. So glad you're here. Thanks for tuning in, and I hope you enjoy my work. Thank you very much. Lion in Winter is one of the largest paintings I have done. It is of a mountain lion, beautiful scene in the winter in the woods of northern Colorado. The photo, I was very graciously given permission to paint this by David Niels. He is the founder of Wild Nature Media, and if you don't know him, you should. So I hope you follow him on the internet, on his website, Wild Nature Media. Anyway, the other night, actually, Dick was teasing me, my husband was teasing me about the fact it was sure hard to fall asleep in our bed. We are actually in our bedroom here, because he had all these predators sort of lurking over his head. We also happen to have a painting of a black bear in the bedroom as well. But hey, you know, it's tough. Life with an artist is really difficult. One of the things I like about this painting is the complementary colors that just come naturally because of the blues and lavenders in the snow, as well as the golds and rusts and oranges and so on in the ponderosa pines and on the mountain lion. So I really like this painting, if for no other reason, just because of the color scheme. So that's Lion in Winter. This painting over here, I got to work around here, sorry. This painting here comes out of a really funny story. If you've ever driven Highway 34, which goes up the Big Thompson Canyon between Loveland, Colorado, and Estes Park, you will occasionally see bighorn ram along the road. What I had never seen was a bighorn ram that just took it upon himself to walk down, literally down the middle of the highway. And what was so hilarious about it was this lineup of cars that were just stacked up behind him, and he did not care. He was not flustered. He was not hurrying. It was kind of like, look guys, this is my road. I am on this highway, and if you want to just stack up behind me, you can certainly do that, but I am not going to budge. So I called this one I Love a Parade, because that's really what it felt like. It just a hilarious scene, and I was fortunate to just be able to stop my car, and I always have my camera with me, so I grabbed a couple of photos, and this painting was the result. This painting utilizes a photo that was I was given permission to use. I unfortunately can't remember the name of the photographer. I'm pretty sure I credited him on the website. But what I find so intriguing about this photograph is that bright sun that the cat is sitting in. Normally I think of them as more nocturnal and sneaky and whatever, but it made for a very dramatic painting the total white bright sun on the one side of the cat's face and neck, and then that deep dark shadow on the other side. So I like it, if for no other reason than just for the drama of the lighting on the pose. This is concealed. This painting is entitled In the Drink, and it was actually my first experience of seeing a moose wade into a shallow lake and then drop its head down into the water and graze off of the plants that are growing up from the bottom of the lake. I was absolutely stunned. I had no idea that moose did that. So this is actually one of the first times that I had seen this, and because it is early summer, the bull moose, his antlers are not all that big at this point. They're covered in velvet, but this painting is in the drink, and I want you to notice the detail it took to accomplish not only the water streaming from the antlers, but all those lines of the water and the reflections and so on going through the lower part of the painting. So that is In the Drink, and that's one of my bigger paintings. You can see the dimensions and so on the website. Natural Camo is a painting of a mule deer buck that I saw in Rocky Mountain National Park. It's kind of a cloudy day. The deer really just kind of blended into the background of the forest. And so I wanted to capture that mood in the painting, and I used a very limited palette and some muted colors to achieve the sense of the deer just sort of knowing and understanding he blended into his background and his environment. So this is Natural Camo. This painting is one of two paintings that resulted from an encounter I had in the Kawanichi Valley in Rocky Mountain National Park. This mother moose had crossed a stream and gone up the bank onto a real grassy area, and she was over there just munching away, happy as could be. But her calf had come into the stream, tried to cross after her, and then it got deep and cold enough, I think, that it turned back. Well, she was oblivious, and the calf waited a while and then tried again, and very kind of like the little engine that could, worked and worked and worked until he got his way over to the other side of the stream. The water came up. All he had out of the water was really his head and a little bit of his neck. Anyway, he gets over to the other side, and he can't get out because that bank there beside them is dirt, and he kept falling back in. Well, finally, the mother figured out what was going on, and she stepped down into the water to lick him off. So this is, It's Okay, one of the paintings that resulted from me watching them for some 30-40 minutes. This painting has a lot of meaning to me personally. It's titled Safe Space, but it comes out of a photo that I took in the Kawanichi Valley of Rocky Mountain National Park. But the thing that just absolutely charmed the socks off of me was that this quite young moose calf was walking around, but at one point it actually walked underneath his mother and between her hind legs, and I just thought that was just beyond cute. I actually combined about 3 photos to get this photo of the calf between her legs and then her head turned back toward her baby. The thing that makes this even more special to me is that was the summer of 2020, and that fall I was actually working on the early stages of this painting when we were told to get the heck out of our house and evacuate because of the Cameron Peak fire. And then subsequently we had to evacuate again from Estes Park because of the East Troublesome fire, which actually went through part of the park where this mother and calf had lived. So for me, safe space is about not only where you are, but who you're with. And for me, my safe space was being with Dick as we were evacuating from these wildfires. And the calf's safe space was being with his mother. This painting is of a moose mother shepherding her calf up a slope in the western section of Rocky Mountain National Park. She actually was out in an open grassy meadow area, and I was on that slope, and so I moved away down further away from her so that I would not disturb her. Unfortunately, she came over to the slope and got on the trail where I was, and I kind of didn't know what to do at that point, so I just sort of froze. And when she saw me, she said, "No, we're not doing this." So she hung a sharp right, took her baby up the slope, and I call this one Upward Bound. This painting is Band Leader. It's of a stallion. I think this is Sebastian, but I'm not sure. It's one of the band stallions, which means it's a stallion that has managed to gather a group of mares to his band or harem, if you will. But he lives in Theodore Roosevelt National Park, which is at the very western edge of North Dakota. And I just love this pose because to me he looks like he owns the world. He knows exactly who he is, and he is wonderful. Band Leader. Bighorn rams are animals that I think of as being kind of above it all, probably in more than one sense. But they just don't seem to care who or what is around them. I think they know they are much stronger than pretty much anything else. So this is a bighorn ram that I saw, I think probably in the Big Thompson Canyon between Loveland and Estes Park. But he was just kind of staring me down, and I was backed off and saying, yeah, I'm not coming anywhere near you. You are obviously a big, strong dude, and I'm going to leave you alone. This is Steady Gaze. This mule deer was busy munching away on this bush. The tricky thing about it was that it appeared at least to be a really prickly thing as far as I was concerned. And I kept thinking that must be painful, but the deer didn't seem to think so, so he just kept munching away. I cropped this really tight in terms of the composition, mostly just to give it a different look, but also because I wanted to emphasize the antlers, the ear, and the face, particularly that eye. Somehow the eye was really captivating to me. You can also see with this that when I do the batiking, I tend to use very light colors. I don't want it to be real obvious, but it just does add an extra layer of visual texture, if you will. So anyway, this is Sticky Wicket Dining. Path Less Traveled is taken from a photo that David Niels captured on a trail camera of his. David is the owner and founder of Wild Nature Media, and if you don't know him, you certainly should. Be sure to follow him on Facebook and Instagram and on his website. But David Niels does a lot of work with conservation, education, study of wildlife. He really is very knowledgeable. And one of the things he does each late summer, early fall, when everything is really dried up, he puts together a group of volunteers who carry water up to a natural stone basin in northern Colorado so that the bears will stay up there rather than coming down where there are more people around and creating issues of conflict between them and the humans. So just after they had filled the basin with, I don't know how many gallons of water that everybody had carried up on their backs, he had a trail camera set up on the path, and sure enough, this bear walked up the path to get her drink of water. And so I just love the story behind that and the work that David does. And this is Path Less Traveled. I'm often very fortunate to be given permission by wonderful photographers to use their photographs in a painting, and this was such a situation. Linda Olson lives in the Pacific Northwest. She takes photos of, among other things, a lot of waterfowl, and so this is her photo of a great blue heron. What I find striking about those birds, of course, is their golden orange beaks against the complementary color of the dark blue and blue-gray that is inherent in their head and wing feathers. And so this, to me, kind of became an exercise in complementary colors and how they really can make a painting sing. This is Great Blue. Ballet Dancer is taken from another photo by Linda Olson, and this one was one of those where I knew I was going to, in effect, invent a lot of color that was on the bird, because a white bird is just white and not a whole lot else. So I wanted to use a very simple triad of primary colors, yellow, red, and blue, and then combine those in all the variations thereof in terms of oranges, pinks, lavenders, etc. So this is my effort to depict the gracefulness and beauty of the pose that Linda captured of this snowy egret, and I titled it Ballet Dancer. This painting is majestic. It's actually a painting you probably, if you've been to Rocky Mountain National Park, you will recognize Long's Peak in the background. But what I found so interesting and the kind of the rationale or the reason that it prompted me to do the painting is the incredible size difference between that bull elk, which is a big animal, and so I think of them as big, and then how sort of lost he gets in the tundra and the enormity of that view of mountains behind him. So to me, it was just a striking image of the immensity of the view, as well as this big bull elk. So I call this majestic. Sorry about the extreme angle, but I'm trying to reduce the glare that you see here. But I wanted to show you, that's the elk. Again, big animal, gorgeous, majestic animals, absolutely dwarfed by the immensity of the mountains in the background. One of the things that I have been doing on occasion is not framing my watercolor wax batiks behind glass or plexiglass, but actually framing them in a more minimalist style with a floater frame and then a varnished protective coating on the painting itself. So you can see here that the painting is actually floated in this frame, but it's also protected by an isolation coat and then coats of varnish, so that if you needed to clean it for some reason, you could just wipe it off with a damp cloth. But this is stained glass elk. I think kind of the way of the shadows and everything looks kind of like a stained glass on his fur. The photo was taken by Rick Craig, who he lives in the Dakotas, United Methodist pastor. So anyway, I was grateful when Rick said I could use his photo. Stained glass elk. This painting is Rufus. It's a painting that I did of Rufus hummingbird, thanks to Mark and Kenya Haupt, who live up here in the same area that we do. And they had this hummingbird, I assume at their feeder, but I'm not sure about that. Anyway, Rufus are gorgeous little birds, And that's one of the reasons why I chose to put quite so much rust and orange in the painting, because it's on the bird. This painting is floater framed and then varnished with an archival varnish on the surface of the painting, but it gives you a very immediate sense of the texture of the paper that is used in watercolor wax batik. So that's Rufus. Then I got all excited about hummingbirds, and so I painted one, a hummingbird of a photo that I had taken, and I called this one Hovercraft. I don't recall how, but somehow I had managed to abstract the background in the photo of the hummingbird, and so then when I went to render it in the painting, I thought it turned out really well, just in terms of, I'm trying to square this up, sorry folks. It turned out well, I thought, in terms of just the background appearance and the sense of the background kind of echoing the activity of the wings of the hummingbird. So that's Hovercraft. Small paintings can be special, and that's the case with this one. This bull elk was just in a neighbor's wooded area, and as I was driving up the road going to my home, he picked his head up and was just kind of watching me. So, of course, because I always have a camera in the car, I rolled my window down and I watched him. And he just kind of stood there looking at me. It was just kind of one of those quiet moments that I enjoy because of where we live. Anyway, this is Quiet Fellow. It's an 8x10 painting. It's actually been mounted and then hung in a floater frame. So it's just a nice, subtle little piece. This is Pika. It's not a mouse. It's a it's a member of the rabbit family, actually. But they are very small little critters that run around the upper rocky areas of mountain areas. This one I photographed in Rocky Mountain National Park. But what's fun about them is that they have this little high-pitched squeak that they give off as they're zooming around. And I remember when I was on a backpacking trip, one of the kids on the trip had a kind of a squeak in his backpack, and it would squeak, and the pika that were near us on the trail would squeak back. So fun painting. Means a lot to me because pika are somewhat endangered by climate change, and this is one that I found backlit by the sun. It wound up actually earning me an award in the Rocky Mountain National the Red River Watercolor Society National Show. It hangs next to my various and sundry awards on the wall, so it's in good company. But this is Pika. I grew up in the Midwest, and one of my favorite birds is the cardinal because they are such a bright flash of red in what sometimes can be otherwise a fairly drab background. That was the case with this cardinal. I photographed him in the winter, just kind of coming out of the winter, but you can see the snowflakes falling there. But what I really like about this one is that bright, gorgeous, orangey red, deep red color on the bird, which then is offset by the complementary colors of the blue and blue-green in the background. This this painting is titled Snowbird. Launching Out has a story behind it. This moose mother had crossed the stream to go over and graze on the other side, and her young calf was very unhappy about being left behind, so he very bravely crossed the stream, basically only keeping his head out of the water. When he got to the other side, he couldn't get out. He kept sliding back down the bank. So Mom eventually noticed and stepped down into the water to lick him off. That painting is It's Okay. And then once he was all kind of reassured that everything was going to be all right, then Mom gave him a nudge and he launched out into the stream, and she followed him as he crossed back over. So this is launching out. This painting is Iris. It's hanging on my studio wall. You can tell that by all the studio stuff below it, but there it is. My mom raised award-winning irises. That was kind of a hobby of hers. She would order the rhizomes from Shriner's Gardens, and she always went for the iris that were award-winning blooms. And then she had a real green thumb, to say the least. And so when she raised iris, they were absolutely stunning, gorgeous big blooms. This is a photo I had of some of her iris, and so I turned it into a painting. This is actually, I don't know if I'm going to succeed in doing this, but this is actually watercolor tape batik. And so it's a little different process. This is actually the painting that I did where I learned the process. Took a class from Sandy Maudlin, who's a wonderful art instructor. But it's on traditional watercolor paper. You can see that I float framed it in the frame. But what you do then is you use masking tape as the resist instead of wax. And so that enables you to work on traditional watercolor paper rather than the rice paper that I use for the wax batik. But anyway, this is Iris. This painting is courtesy of a photo taken by Rick Craig. This snowy egret has been fishing, obviously, and Rick was fortunate enough and patient enough to catch the egret, literally must have been flipping the minnow kind of up into its beak to swallow it down. So it's an incredible photo, which I just couldn't resist turning into a painting, and this is Big Gulp. Thank you for attending my holiday studio art show and sale. It will continue for several days beyond today. And then wanted you to also know that if you have any questions, any comments, anything you want to talk to me further about, just use the comment form on the website and shoot me an email, and I will be glad to get back to you. I also will have a garage sale, so to speak, coming up in about a week, and that will be kind of a closeout of some just kind of some miscellaneous pieces and odds and ends. So be sure to keep an eye out for that too. If you are not on my email list, there's a form on the website to sign up for my email list. That would give you the chance to, again, get emails in terms of what am I doing, is there a sale on, in terms of my merchandise and prints, shows I'm going to be at, art fairs that I'll have a booth at, paintings I'm working on, just some kind of reflections about my life as an artist. So those come out about once a week, and I'd love to have you, love to continue the conversation. So again, thanks, and this is it for now. Hope you have a great Thanksgiving and a good holidays. Bye-bye.